G'day everyone, welcome to my garage. Just going to do a walkthrough on my Nucanoe Pursuit. Basically, I've been getting a few questions about what I've done with particular attention to the electric motor setup I've got. So I thought I'd just chuck a video together, that way I can just share a link or whatever and you can see what I've done. Anyway, as I said, Nucanoe Pursuit, it's an American fishing kayak suited to flat water. If you want to go to the trouble like I have of finding the areas on this thing which have known penetration issues and spending a bunch of time with some silicone and some sealant stuff, you can make this watertight enough to take offshore, which I have done, and in light conditions, perfectly fine. Water crashing over, it'll drain via the scuppers, no problem at all. Anyway, what I have on the back is just a standard transom mount electric trolling motor. This canoe has, or kayak, whatever you want to call it, has a transom mount as standard. So it's made for it really. This is a 60-pound thrust electric motor. It's a no-name brand. Got it off eBay for the price it cost me. I don't care if it only lasts a couple of years and I throw it away, get another one. But it is rated for salt water. Anyway, with the seat in the furthest rear position, as this just about is, you get awesome amount of deck space on this thing for fishing, which is why I wanted it. But it is still quite a distance from there back to where a tiller arm would be on an electric motor. Even with an extension rod, it's still a fair ways away and you'd have to turn around or get an extension arm, and it's just not practical. Pain in the bum, to be honest. So what I've done, first and foremost, I've rewired it. So no, obviously the tiller head's gone, which included the throttle control. It's been rewired up to one of these, which is called a power wave modulator from FPB Power, as you can see. The address is there if you want to check them out. Basically what this does is allows you to infinitely adjust speed and has your normal forward reverse. It has a magnetic kill switch. But basically, the way electric outboards work on the low speed settings, they still pump through the same amount of voltage or amps or whatever, but it brings that down through resistors or something like that. I don't know the exact electromechanics around it, but basically it uses roughly the same amount of battery power regardless of what speed you're running at, which is a bit ridiculous. I don't know if I have that exactly right, but anyway, this thing allows you to only put enough power out to run the speed that you want to run, so you're not, in theory, wasting any power. The best part about that is I can dial this thing down to a walking pace, which is awesome if you just were cruising down an estuary or a river and you just want to slowly move along, cast your lures at structure without having to worry about stop-starting on a motor or getting your paddle out or anything like that. I didn't want a pedal version kayak. I wanted the deck space because I stand up in this thing and fish from the sides. It's really stable. But the good part about having a 60-pound thrust motor is when it's on full throttle, I get about 18-20 kilometers an hour out of this. That's just measured via speed on a GPS app on my phone, so not 100% accurate, but hell, even 15 kilometers an hour is a hell of a lot faster than paddling. Just gives you further range on a kayak in shallow waters, which is awesome. You get places boats can't. The other thing I've done, obviously, is made steering remote via this throttle control rod. It's a push-pull rod. I've made some custom mounts out of metals and different stuff I had laying around at home. It comes up to this, which I've also made out of bits and pieces I've had laying around at home. This mount here that's on the side track that I've put on is actually one of the bases out of the standing bar, like the cast assist bar that comes with this as an option with this kayak. I didn't use it after I bought it. So anyway, this is a push-pull rod. That's exactly what it does. It pushes and pulls. Gives me about 25 to 30 degrees of motion through that. That's only limited by the travel on that rod. This rod's a 120mm travel. You can get longer travel rods, but the thing I think I would have had a problem with a longer travel is when you get to, say, here, if you got longer travel and it's pushing around further, you'll end up hitting this on things. And this particular push-pull rod has a rating of a range of motion or range of flex of 8 mil either way. So further travel might sort of stress that coupling there, or that join or seal or whatever it is. And I'm just trying to work within the limitations of what I've got. I don't need a massive amount of movement. I think that amount of movement is more than enough to get me turning sharp enough in most river systems. Still carry a paddle if I need to turn sharper, I just use it. The other thing I've done is I've stacked this out with nylon washers. What that gave me the option to do is really clamp down on that. So this lever has a bit of friction. It's not hard to move, but where you put it, it stays. So that means you don't get the motor being pushed around in currents, or if you bump on something, it doesn't twist on you. So it will stay there until you want to move it. I've got a bit of tidying up to do. As you can see, I've got some gal spray on there. I'm going to touch it up, and I'm going to change out these split pins for something that I can quickly take off on and off, and trim down some bolts, put a little bit of capping on it so it doesn't cut my feet up. Anyway, the only other thing is the the power supply. Up front here is the battery. Put it up the front to even the weight out a bit, but having said that, this thing does not weigh much. This is a lithium ion battery from Renogy. I bought it online, they're Australian distribution. I don't know if they're Australian made, but they're probably not. Let's face it, everything's made overseas. But anyway, this is 12 volt, 100 amp battery, lithium ion. This thing weighs like about 16, 17 kilo. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's less than 20. That is light. For 100 amp hour, you got that in lead acid, that'd be 30 plus kilos easy. But anyway, it's nice and compact too, and just fits down in there. Put the cable in, track it over. It seals up more than enough. If I was going offshore to avoid any water coming in here, I've got that tub up there which sits down here underneath these bungees. It's got a weatherproof entry for the cable I can slot through, and that's 100% waterproof. Anyway, I won't bore you anymore. That is my kayak and my motor. I can go fishing for a whole day on that 100 amp hour lithium and not need to charge. So happy days. Alrighty. Thanks for putting up with me. Cheers for watching.